capabilities, different missile systems, the centerpiece of which you mentioned is the S-400 missile system. It's a very, very capable missile system, and the Air Force was fully aware of its capabilities. They told the government this, and this is the reason that the Narendra Modi government, way back in 2018, Gaurav, took on the United States. They took on the risk of CAATSA sanctions from the United States to buy 5 of these systems from the Russian Federation. And that bold decision, that diplomatic muscle that they showed with the United States, standing up to the US pressure, has now paid off such rich dividends 7 years later. This is a huge investment for our air defense network, Gaurav. You cannot underestimate the importance of that very, very significant decision we took 7 years back. Of course, there are other components to the IACCS, which is basically a large grid. You have something called the RASP, the RASP, which is a rapidly emerging air situation picture, which connects all airborne and ground-based sensors to give a complete 360-degree picture of the entire airspace, the battle space around India, the northern and western parts of India. So the Air Force controllers on the ground can, in one fell swoop, they can look at the entire picture, down that entire location, that 3,000 kilometer border, right from Jammu and Kashmir down to Gujarat. And, you know, they have a full air situation picture, and then they can start allocating resources, which missile is going to tackle which threat. And in this case, Gaurav, the drones that the Pakistanis have attacked us with, 500 drones, most of them low-cost, drones. I mean, they're literally expendable drones. They just sent it across for propaganda purposes, I would think.
Or, you know, I think Pakistan is evil as a state, and especially the army wouldn't trust them. In fact, there are many in the security apparatus in India who say several things about Pakistan, which I will tell some of you offline, because online, when they say you see somebody who's wearing a Pakistan Army uniform and a snake, you know who's to be taken down first.
Well, the mask has certainly fallen off the Pakistan military and its support for terrorism, Gaurav, and that is something that we've seen in the last 48 hours, where it's unprecedented, a military funeral for a terrorist, and you have soldiers standing side by side with terrorists, designated terrorists. What is the message that Pakistan is sending out to the world?
As you very rightly pointed out, the mask is off. There's breaking news coming in, and I want to get you details of the big story. We will show you on camera how India downed Pakistan's swarm drone attack. This is an India Today exclusive report. You're watching real time how India saw the threat coming in and how Pakistan's attack was neutralized. These are those images that show you. This is an India Today exclusive. An Indian Army and Air Force together thwarted the April 8 drone strike by Pakistan with what is being described as one of the most successful systems, the L-70, the Akash system, the Zu-23 system. And this is like a coordinated response from the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. Jointmanship works so perfectly. The drone attack happened, and in a timely manner. You know, there's an old saying, in the armed forces, being forewarned is being forearmed. 20 soft kills, according to the army, on the 8th of May. And look at the timing. The timing also visible there. 8 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. That is where Pakistan carried out raids with 500 small unmanned aerial vehicles in 24 cities from Jammu and Kashmir, across Punjab, across Rajasthan to Gujarat in India. And that entire effort, it just failed. It just failed because India was so much better prepared. And I want to bring in India Today's ace defense correspondent Shivani Sharma, who joins me on this broadcast. Shivani, bring us details. Your sources have given you these images. You've accessed these images. The big picture that emerges, Shivani.
Gaurav, these are the exclusive images of the swarm drone attack that was directed towards India in several cities, more than 24 cities and locations in India yesterday night between 8:30 and 11:30. The timelines are also very specific, right after when sirens were sounded in Jammu. And we saw how these projectiles were moving in different locations, and the air defense system of the country thwarted all these swarm drones. So this was a big offense that Pakistan had attempted, and India neutralized the threat within no time, Gaurav. And this is how Pakistan's swarm drones, and 500, not 2, not 3, but 500 swarm drones in different locations across the western border, across the states, right from Jammu and Kashmir to Punjab to Rajasthan. They were all directed towards the locations of these cities, not only the military locations, but also where the people are residing, the residents. So the civilian population was also on target, but the air defense system, which is a combination of multiple assets, starting from the S-400 to the Akash missiles, the Pichora missiles, the unarmed counter air defense systems. So all this was in place. This multiple layered air defense system neutralized the threat in no time, and this was again a failed attempt by Pakistan, the misadventure that was dealt with strongly by India. Gaurav.
Okay, and Shivani, the systems, the fact that the Army and the Air Force operate together seamlessly, how are they explaining this Pakistani, or what sources are saying at least some of these drones that the Pakistanis sent were unarmed? Were they testing our defenses, or were they making us spend very expensive ammunition in neutralizing worthless drones, and the real attack perhaps would follow later?
Gaurav, this seems to be a panic action from Pakistan, a very bad strategically planned action that was failed within no time. And it now seems that they've been testing our shield over the skies. That's what we can only say, because all of these attempts have been thwarted within no time. This is happening across states, Gaurav. This is Jammu and Kashmir, the Jammu airport, the Srinagar airport, Punjab. Major defense establishments were also, remember, before yesterday, there was an attempt by Pakistan the prior night, also following the Operation Sindoor, that was also thwarted by India, and all the Pakistani drones were brought down. They all landed in their debris on Indian soil. This was the second attempt, mind you, that happened yesterday evening, starting 8:30 onwards, that kept on in various locations, right from Rajasthan's Jaisalmer to Jammu Airport, Jammu City, RS Pura sector, and many other sectors in Srinagar also, in Amritsar also. So all these swarm attacks that...
For a moment, I want to bring in Sandeep Puneethan on these images that you've just shared with us. The quadcopters, and rather cheap-looking Chinese quadcopters. Isn't this, Sandeep? Why would Pakistan send this? And is it actually, one, testing our defenses, two, making us poof off very expensive ammunition to take down this?
Absolutely, Gaurav. Those 2 points that you mentioned, I just want to add a third to that. This is possibly a propaganda move by Pakistan. They want to tell their citizens, look, we've attacked India in 500 different locations and we've sent all of these, drones and all that. But the visuals that we are seeing on screen right now suggest a very different picture. They've used cheap Chinese drones. And as you mentioned rightly, that this is to spoof our system, to force us to expend ammunition. But what they don't realize is that we have plenty of ammunition. There's a lots more where that came from. But, interesting, Gaurav, on the left side, you're looking at a display of possibly what I think is the display unit of the L-70 gun. That's our primary air defense gun, Gaurav. It's been in service since independence. It's a gun that was built in the 1940s. It's a Swedish design gun, which we have manufactured indigenously. We have over 1,000 of those guns. And this has been upgraded, Gaurav. It's been brought into the 21st century by Bharat Electronics Limited. It's one of our frontline platforms in the fight against swarm drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, missiles and aircraft, of course. It's a very, very capable system. As you can see, it's been, it's been made into a radar-directed gun now. From that manual gun, the hydraulics have been replaced by all-electric drives. It's a very sophisticated platform, and
which
it's now
just makes it all the more better. So, if it's no longer hydraulic, in high altitude, it's easier. In the desert area, it's easier. Less oil, less sand getting into the system. Absolutely. And all of that makes it so much better.
It's all silent, Gaurav.
And it's completely silent.
It's silent, it's noiseless, and it's very effective. It's devastating. It's got a range of something like 4 to 5 kilometers, and it can fire something like 200 shells per minute. It's a very, very lethal weapon, and it's, it's actually in this upgraded avatar. We've saved a lot of money by doing this, and it's a tribute to our engineers at Bharat Electronics Limited who've done this over the last couple of years. And this is, Second World War technology, which has been upgraded and upgraded, and now it is in its final avatar. You're seeing the proof of the pudding. That's in the eating, and the eating is right in front of your eyes, Gaurav.
You know what I want our viewers to know, when people say India is not well defended, when people say Pakistan is better off, I don't know where they get their information from. And look at India's point defense, you know, from a manpad, a shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile and IGLA to the S-400 system. Take a look at some of the indigenous components that are coming in, and Sandeep, elaborate on it. So, yes, we also have the Zu-23, you know, those Second World War guns. Anyways, all of us who've read Commando comics would know a lot about Achtung, tak, 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 tak is what we read in those comics. But we've seen them in action. I've seen them in action in Kargil War. We'll show you that gun. The Zu-23. Then you have the 70mm. Then, you know, keep going up the chain to the Tunguska that your armor would want, your Sam Pechoras, the Shilkas. And Sandeep will explain each and every one to you. I want to talk about the Akash system. The Akash, it's a part of India's integrated missile development program. Agni, Prithvi, Akash, Nag, Trishul. 1983, if I remember the year correctly, late APJ Abdul Kalam. It was... He said, banana hai, India mein banana hai. Humko nahi chahiye missile videsh se. And, you know, Sandeep, so many people said, you can't do it. And he said, we will do it. We've done it. It's holding us in good stead in 2025 through a lot of problems that Akash system had.
Absolutely. In fact, Gaurav, the Akash is, you know, it's a tribute to India's indigenous defense capability, because this entire system, the radar, the fire control system, the trucks, the missiles itself, of course, all of it is made in India. Therefore, we can export it as a system. It's one of the very few systems that's entirely end-to-end. It's made in India. We can export the system. And indeed, we are in talks with a number of countries in Asia and in Africa for Akash missile export.
It's inexpensive.
It is inexpensive.
It's made in India. It's accurate.
It's better than the Chinese missile.
It's yes, it's much better than the Chinese missile, and it's now battle tested.
It's battle tested indeed, and it's you know, the cornerstone of a completely indigenous range of missiles. You have the Akash, then you have the Akash new generation, the next generation, extended range. You keep building up on the capabilities, Akash, Gaurav, and that is what is the contribution of this missile system that we started way back in 1983. It's the tribute to our, you know, visionary scientists who stuck to their guns and decided to develop all of this indigenously. And today, again, Gaurav, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. The Akash is there. It's performed. It's a very, very critical component of our IACCES, and it's been used successfully in the field. And this means very well for the system and its future variants, Gaurav.
You know, for those who mock Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense, do keep in mind, Ukraine was fighting Russia. Ukraine is dependent entirely on equipment that's out for a majority of its equipment. It's dependent on Germany, England, France, United States of America, NATO coming forward and helping them. Sometimes, and I was on ground, and Sandeep, bear me out, they would be ready for the assault. The ammunition wouldn't be there. The rockets, the missiles, the tanks, the armored personnel carriers, they wouldn't have it. So men would go into combat without their equipment, and they would be cut down. Imagine if they were making in their own country, it would have helped them. That is why Make in India is so important. Yes, it's slow. Yes, it's time consuming, and we need to improve. Our scientists need to improve. Our engineers need to improve. The delivery has to be there. It has to be flawless, but there is no alternative to Make in India.
There's no alternative indeed, Gaurav. You hit the nail on the head. If you want to be a power of some standing, you have to build your own missile systems. You have to build your own defense capabilities. Otherwise, like you correctly pointed out, you are at the mercy of your foreign suppliers. They probably say, you know, sell you the weapons. They might not sell you the weapons. They will decide the schedule for the delivery of the components and parts and all that. And you have to keep running back to them. And this is how big countries control narratives. They control smaller countries by this. And what you're actually doing, Gaurav, when you import weapons, you are actually importing security. And this is something that you cannot compromise on. You can't compromise on your own national security. And that is the reason there is no alternative but to develop your own weapon systems.
Atmanirbhar Bharat is essential. Remember, look at Pakistan, for example. Pakistan is forced to do a sajda to China. and kowtow. Kowtow is the word, the Chinese word. Sajda is the Pakistani word. But that is what Pakistan does. Sometimes it does a sajda to the United States of America. Sometimes it does a sajda to China. Sometimes it will do a sajda to anybody else. But all it will do is a sajda. I mean, they're permanently on their knees, like right now, in front of the International Monetary Fund.
They've shifted from one foreign supplier to another one. They've moved from the United States and towards China. 80% of their recent arms imports, Gaurav, are of Chinese origin. So the Chinese, again, are going to be holding the screws on Pakistan. They are going to tell them what to do. They are going to tell them the kind of weapons that they get. They will decide the caliber, the character.
And the Indian weapons, why they're doing so good. It's actually a combination that India has. And it's amazing when you look at these Chinese HQ-16, for example, based on the S-300s of Russia, remade by China, sold the LV-80 version, sold to Pakistan.
Yes.
So their foreign version, anyway, I believe, is subpar.
Is subpar. It would be definitely 1 or 2 levels below what the Chinese forces use. So that's the game that big countries play. They will never sell top-of-the-line weapons of their own to other countries. They will always sell degraded versions of that. They don't want their weapons to be used, against themselves. So that is the kind of things that they do when they handle weapons exports. But this is a lesson for us as well, Gaurav. The Chinese, look at the Chinese. In the last 20 or 25 years, they've gone from importing a lot of Russian hardware to now copying it, duplicating it, and now exporting them.
Yes.
In the face of global opposition, and of course competing against Russian systems
this
themselves.
image that we see on our television screens right now, the TL-15 long-range air-to-air missile.
Gaurav, you are looking at one of the biggest intelligence coup in several years. Now, the United States, for one, would pay for the weight in gold for that missile that the Punjab policemen are handling over there. That's a PL-15, very long-range Chinese missile. It's rarely been seen in public. It's possibly been used, fired for the first time. And this is something that I can confirm that our scientists are looking at it very closely right now. They're examining its characteristics. This is a missile that has literally emerged from behind the bamboo curtain, Gaurav, and this has been supplied to Pakistan very recently as tensions began ratcheting up. It's part of the Pakistan Air Force.
But it has an amazing range of almost 200 kilometers.
It's believed to have a range of something like 200 kilometers, and I'm sure our scientists, our DRDO scientists, are studying the characteristics of this weapon even as we speak. They must be taking it apart to try and understand its characteristics and how it matches against our own indigenous DRDO long-range air-to-air missile, the Astra.
Astra. I also want to understand from you right now, the Chinese commanders would probably be slapping the Pakistani Air Force for letting go of a PL-15 like this.
Absolutely, Gaurav.
Because the Chinese secrets are out in the open.
Chinese secrets are out in the open, and Gaurav, I very well see the PL-15 being the top of the agenda in India-US talks. In the next round of defense dialogue, the United States would ask to see these missiles because let's not forget, Gaurav, these are the kind of missiles that the United States is going to be facing if a conflict were to break out over Taiwan. US fighters are going to be tracked and picked up by and targeted by missiles like the PL-15. I'm sure the United States would want to have a very, very close look at the PL-15. In fact, forget the United States.
So from the Guam base, there's a C-130J that will be landing.
Possibly a C-17, Gaurav.
Or a C-17.
Which would already be here, and you would have experts queuing up to study this missile. It's a very, very enigmatic missile. We've seen mock-ups of it. We've seen dummies of it in arms exhibitions, but we've never seen an actual missile being fired in combat. And that is an intelligence windfall, Gaurav.
So, before I bring in our reporters and our guests, and as we are waiting for the briefing of Operation Sindoor by the Ministry of External Affairs and Defense, I want to understand, what is your assessment of the Chinese equipment? Hasn't it proven to be rather subpar, whether it is the equivalent of their S-300s or the longer range air defense systems? They've all been rather subpar, or the JF-17 Thunders or the J-10Cs.
Well, the Chinese weapons, Gaurav, let's face it, they are a generation below the Russian systems. You know, they've reverse engineered a whole lot of Russian systems. We know all of that. But the important thing is that both the J-10s and the J-17s use Russian engines.
Yes.
Right? And that is something, they use the same engines, the RD-33 that's used by the MiG-29, for instance. So that's again, a case of China being dependent on Russia for fighter jet engines. So, I mean, these are...
But, if we were to talk about the JF-17 Thunders,
yes.
Chinese don't use them themselves. They found them subpar, so they palmed it off to Pakistan. So they palmed it off
to the Pakistanis because this is the kind of jet that the Pakistanis want to replace their variants of the MiG-21. So, the JF-17s would be very similar to our light combat aircraft, the LCA Tejas, which we've been developing from the 1980s and which is now coming in the numbers that we want it to replace all of the MiG-21s, in fact. So this would be very similar to our LCA. But, like you correctly pointed out, the fact that it's not good enough to enter PLA service.
It's not good enough for PLA.
Not good
off
for
the Pakistanis.
And it's a cheap export option for a number of air forces.
African countries are
African countries, Bangladesh is looking at it, possibly Sri Lanka as well.
Okay. So apart from Africa, you have two neighbors of ours that may look at this, but after they've seen the subpar performance, and I'm told that two of them have been lost. We're waiting for an official confirmation whether that comes or not. What we're also looking at is the J-10C, the multi-role fighter jet, again was said to be better.
Right.
The latest version with the PL-15s, and I believe the PL-15s air-to-air missiles now come with an extended range beyond 200 kilometers.
Beyond 200 kilometers, that's what we've been told. That's again another enigmatic missile. We haven't seen that missile being used in combat yet, Gaurav. But the J-10 that you're seeing on screen right now is a very interesting aircraft. It has a history. It's actually based on an Israeli design called the Lavi. Now, the Lavi itself was an Israeli copy of the F-16 Fighting Falcon, and that is something that the Chinese copied, and now they've sold it to the Pakistanis 3 years ago, 2022 to be precise. And the Pakistan Air Force acquired these only to kind of achieve parity with India. When our Rafale started being delivered, it was a kind of a propaganda move for them to say that now we've acquired a new aircraft that we believe is going to be equal or better than the Rafale. Of course, that's completely untrue because the Rafale can completely outclass the J-10. There is nothing literally in the subcontinent that can match, a Rafale. No fourth or 4.5 generation aircraft can beat the Rafale.
I want to quickly bring in Shivani Sharma into this conversation once again because Shivani, you were directly in the line of fire with a number of our reporters across from Jammu and Kashmir, down Punjab, through Rajasthan till Gujarat. But is the situation as bad right now? What is the bigger picture that you're picking up?
Gaurav, since morning there has no shelling that has been reported at the line of control. The severe shelling that continued through the night stopped over the day, but we saw the evacuations happening. People are still under tension and worry. They are under fear that what would happen tonight because the things are quite uncertain, and this uncertainty is causing a lot of tension to the people because line of control is there where the ceasefire violations have been happening since last, especially the artillery guns have been firing upon the civilians in these areas. So there is tension. People are hoping and praying that the things settle down fast. There should be no escalation from Pakistan's side because if it happens, then India will also respond forcefully. And further, then that what we are calling it, an escalation ladder, will go high and severely impact, especially the people who are on line of control because ceasefire violations are continuing from Pakistan, and that too with full intensity.
And they indeed are. When we talk about the escalation ladder, let's look at what's been happening ever since India struck Terror Central, Pakistan's Punjab province, at Murid Ke, at Bahawalpur, in Sialkot, along with other locations in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. I want to understand from you, we struck multiple locations, our missiles went through. Does that completely expose Pakistan's air defense system? Point one. Next day, when they attempted to strike, attempts failed. When we hit back, We took down some of their missile defense systems, also struck places close to GHQ in Rawalpindi, struck Lahore, struck several other locations. Again, when last night they tried, government is, we will hear officially from the government in just about a minute plus. Their attempts did not succeed, though they tried 26 different locations with 500 drones. Will they escalate? Are we going up the escalation ladder? Or is this some kind of a situation where they are saying they're fighting back? It does appear to be a feeble fight back unless their real fight back happens only now.
Well, Gaurav, you know, a feeble fight back is quite possible because what has happened in the last 48 hours has completely spooked the Pakistan military. They did not wargame the possibility of such swift Indian retaliation. First Operation Sindoor, the first phase, then the second phase of Operation Sindoor. And the government doesn't seem to be backing down in the face of Pakistan's threats. And this is, as we were discussing, Gaurav, this appears to be retribution for 25 years of Pakistan using terrorism as an instrument of state policy. They're not just being called out only for Pahalgam, Gaurav. They're being called out for every single major sensational terror attack that the Pakistan military has carried out against Indian targets, against Indian civilians, massacring Indian civilians in Mumbai, in Pahalgam, in Jammu and Kashmir, in Gujarat, in Uttar Pradesh, all across India. Now is the time for payback. And this is what has spooked the Pakistan military.
What gives us the impression that the Pakistan army is spooked and it's not lulling us into thinking that they're not retaliating? We relax and suddenly, because Pakistan, at least their army or their military jihad complex, that's evil. This morning, there was an infiltration attempt. 7 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists were killed at Samba. So, you know, I don't think either you or I, and remember, Sandeep is from Mumbai. 1993 blast, 257 people were killed. 2006 blast, 200 people were killed. 26/11, another 166 people were killed. Pakistani terror didn't stop even after that. That David Coleman, Headley and Tawar Hussain Rana came back again because they wanted to bleed India again. Zaweri Bazaar was struck again. Again, there were terror attacks, not just in Mumbai, but also a German bakery in Pune. You recall 57 people were killed in the Ahmedabad blast. So, you know, I don't trust the Pakistanis. I'm sure you don't trust the Pakistani military jihad complex. What makes you think that they will not hit us or try to hit us again?
Well, if they try to hit us again, Gaurav, good luck to them, because the response and retaliation is going to be instantaneous. Because if you look at it now, Gaurav, the entire 3,000-kilometer border with Pakistan is active. Our aircraft are up in the air, our AWACS are up in the air, our IACCS is active, our warships are out at sea in the North Arabian Sea, just south of Pakistan's most vulnerable soft corner, which is their sea link, their maritime supply routes, their maritime juggler that brings in all of their imports, which brings in all of their energy supplies, Gaurav. They need 500,000 barrels of oil a day, and all of that is transported via the sea. And now, Gaurav, they have 4 neighbors. They have hostile relations with 3 of their 4 neighbors. They are encircled in a way, and I'm sure the Pakistan military, this is something that they had in war game for. And now we have ratcheted up the escalation ladder, and now they possibly want to look for an escape route. They want to tell their citizens, look, we've done the best that we could, and we have achieved parity with India. This whole thing of the Pakistan Army's military jihad complex, parity with India.
How are things different? Look, you and I have covered Pakistan's terror for decades. For decades. We've covered Parliament attack, we've covered 26/11, we've covered attacks in Jammu and Kashmir. Why is it that it's only this time the response has been like this post-Pahalgam?
Well, Gaurav, the sheer horror of the Pahalgam attack, I mean, singling out civilians based on religion, targeting the men, making the women and children watch as they're being cut down, headshots, you know, at point blank range. They're being shot and killed with extreme mercy, and, you know, the message that they're being given, go and tell the Prime Minister. This is the kind of horrible targeting of victims that was done. And this is the largest loss of civilian lives on Indian soil since 26/11. And it's not about avenging, just avenging Pahalgam, Gaurav. It's like India has crossed a path of, you know,
okay,
we don't
I
want
to cut across. Watch those
usual
images, Sandeep. Images that are coming in from the Ministry of External Affairs, the Foreign Secretary, Colonel Qureshi, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh. They are both there. and it's about to start.
Do switch off your mobile phones before I begin. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this press briefing by Foreign Secretary Shri Vikram Misri on the ongoing developments around Operation Sindoor. We are also joined by Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh. With that, I hand over the floor to Foreign Secretary. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Randeep. नमस्कार, गुड आफ्टरनून, आप सबका स्वागत है। और मैं सबसे पहले अनुरोध करूंगा कर्नल सोफिया कुरैशी से कि वो आपको आज तड़के सवेरे से हुई घटनाओं से अवगत कराएं। कर्नल कुरैशी।
थैंक यू सर। नमस्कार। 8 से 9 मई 2025 की मध्य रात्रि को पाकिस्तानी सेना ने सैन्य बुनियादी ढांचे को निशाना बनाने के इरादे से पूरी पश्चिमी सेना पर भारतीय वायु क्षेत्र का कई बार उल्लंघन किया। यही नहीं, बल्कि पाकिस्तानी सेना ने नियंत्रण रेखा पर भारी कैलिबर वाले हथियारों से गोलीबारी भी की। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा और नियंत्रण रेखा पर लेह से लेकर सरक्रीक तक 36 स्थानों पर 300 से 400 लगभग ड्रोनों का इस्तेमाल घुसपैठ का प्रयास करने के लिए किया गया। भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने काइनेटिक व नॉन काइनेटिक साधनों का उपयोग करके इनमें से कई ड्रोन्स को मार गिराया। इतने बड़े पैमाने पर हवाई घुसपैठों का संभावित उद्देश्य वायु रक्षा प्रणालियों का परीक्षण करना और खुफिया जानकारी इकट्ठा करना था। ड्रोन के मलबे की फोरेंसिक जांच की जा रही है। प्रारंभिक रिपोर्ट्स से पता चलता है कि वे तुर्की के असीस गार्ड सोंगर ड्रोन्स हैं। इसके उपरांत रात में पाकिस्तान के एक सशस्त्र यूएवी ने भटिंडा सैन्य स्टेशन को निशाना बनाने की कोशिश भी की, जिसे पकड़ा गया और उसे निष्क्रिय कर दिया गया। पाकिस्तानी हमले के जवाब में पाकिस्तान में 4 हवाई रक्षा स्थलों पर सशस्त्र ड्रोन लॉन्च किए गए। इनमें से एक ड्रोन एडी रडार को नष्ट करने में सक्षम रहा। पाकिस्तान ने जम्मू कश्मीर के तंगधार, उरी, पुंछ, मेंढर, राजौरी, अखनूर और उधमपुर में भारी कैलिबर आर्टिलरी गन और सशस्त्र ड्रोन्स का उपयोग करके नियंत्रण रेखा के पार गोलीबारी भी की, जिसके परिणाम स्वरूप भारतीय सेना के कुछ जवान हताहत हुए और घायल हुए। भारतीय जवाबी कार्रवाई में पाकिस्तानी सेना को भी बड़ा नुकसान पहुंचाया गया। इसके अलावा पाकिस्तान का गैर जिम्मेदाराना व्यवहार फिर से सामने आया। 7 मई 2025 को रात 8:30 बजे एक असफल अकारण ड्रोन और मिसाइल हमला करने के बावजूद पाकिस्तान ने अपना नागरिक हवाई क्षेत्र बंद नहीं किया। पाकिस्तान अपने नागरिक विमानों को ढाल के रूप में इस्तेमाल कर रहा है, जबकि उसे अच्छी तरह से पता है कि भारत पर उसके हमले से हवाई रक्षा की तीव्र प्रतिक्रिया होगी। यह भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा के पास उड़ान भरने वाले अंतर्राष्ट्रीय उड़ानों सहित नागरिक विमानों के लिए सुरक्षित नहीं है। यहाँ स्क्रीन शॉट में पंजाब सेक्टर में हाई एयर डिफेंस अलर्ट स्थिति के दौरान एप्लीकेशन फ्लाइट रडार 24 का डेटा दिखाया गया है। जैसा कि आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ पर भारतीय पक्ष का हवाई क्षेत्र घोषित बंद के कारण नागरिक हवाई यातायात से पूरी तरह से रहित है। कराची और लाहौर के बीच के हवाई अड्डे मार्ग पर नागरिक एयरलाइंस उड़ान भर रही है। हाई अलर्ट किया गया है विमान फ्लाइनेस एविएशन का एयरबस C-20, जैसा कि आप यहाँ देख रहे हैं, जो कि शाम को 5:50 बजे दमम से शुरू हुआ और रात को 9:10 बजे लाहौर में उतरा। ये सारा डिटेल्स आप यहाँ देख रहे हैं। ये डिटेल्स यहाँ लिखा हुआ है। कैन यू सी दिस? भारतीय वायुसेना ने अपनी प्रतिक्रिया में काफी संयम दिखाया और इस प्रकार अंतर्राष्ट्रीय नागरिक विमान सेवा की सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित की। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
Good afternoon to you all. On the intervening night of 8-9 May 2025, Pakistan military carried out multiple violations of Indian airspace along the entire western border with an intent to target military infrastructure. Pakistan military also resorted to firing of heavy caliber weapons along the line of control. Along the international border and line of control, drone intrusions were attempted from Leh to Sar Creek at 36 locations with approximately 300 to 400 drones. Indian Armed Forces brought down a number of these drones using kinetic and non-kinetic means. The possible purpose of these large-scale aerial intrusions were to test the AD systems and gather intelligence. Forensic examination of the drone debris is being undertaken. Preliminary reports suggest them to be of Aziz Guard Songa drone of Turkey. Later in the night, an armed UAV of Pakistan attempted to target Bhatinda military station, which was detected and neutralized. In response to the Pakistani attack, armed drones were launched at 4 air defense sites in Pakistan. One of the drones was able to destroy an AD radar. Pakistan also carried out artillery shelling across the line of control using heavy caliber artillery guns and armed drones at Sangdhar, Uri, Poonch, Mendhar, Rajouri, Akhnur and Udhampur in Jammu and Kashmir area, which resulted in some losses and injuries to Indian Army personnel. Pakistan Army also suffered major losses in Indian retaliatory fire. Additionally, Pakistan's irresponsible behavior again came to fore. Pakistan did not close its civil airspace despite it launching a failed unprovoked drone